Over the last 7 to 10 days, I'm sure a lot of you have noticed, here on YouTube and on other platforms, there's been a great deal of content posted showing large formations of helicopters, aircraft going overhead, tanks, jeeps, all sorts of different things going on. And people have extrapolated that there might be something big coming up in the future. I don't necessarily think that's the case because there's a pattern developing with this. It happens this time every single year, and then also right around the holidays. Now, what is this? Of course, anybody who's been in the military knows that this is likely just National Guard and reservists doing their 2 weeks a year. When you sign up and you're not active duty and you sign up for the Guard or Reserve, it's 1 weekend of training a month and then a 2-week event every year. Now, a lot of different units coordinate when they do it so they can joint train with other forces. All the logistics guys and the truck drivers and the mechanics and all of them want to do their training at the same time so that they can operate and train in a way as if they were deployed. And that's what you're seeing. And that's why you see it all of a sudden all across the country, especially across the South. Now, the reason they do it in late June is they get it done before the 4th of July, number one. And number two, of course, storm season is coming, and it looks like we're going to have a fairly active one. There's a lot of different disturbances out in the Gulf, and they want this event, this training event, done so that in case they do need to deploy the National Guard or reserves during storm season, they'll be available to do so. And that's what's really going on. So if you see an event like this, if you see guys out running or marching or whatever, it's likely just this. And a lot of these guys, because it's only, they only do the 2-week event once a year, a lot of these guys are they're going to be a little bit out of shape. And that's just kind of the way it is. And so you're going to see things that probably don't look, all that tidy. Let's put it that way. They're going to, be getting up to speed. And that's just kind of the way it is. Case in point, Angry Cops, huge channel here on YouTube. We talked about him before in other contexts, but here he is. And he had warned about this. I still watch the channel. Don't agree with the guy a lot, but he, has some really funny content. He really does. And live from military training in the middle of nowhere. And he goes on, he does about a 40-minute video here about military barracks living and all of the different things that, back to school, Army esports, male long hair profile, moral response vehicle, Jedis in the military, all sorts of different things that go on that these guys talk about. So anyway, it's a bit of a psyop that people see this stuff and they jump to conclusions. Overthinking, the art of creating new problems out of ones that never existed in the first place. We've talked about this before, and what's going on is something called post hoc, ergo propter hoc. It was made popular by the West Wing, this actor playing the president. Post hoc, ergo propter hoc means something has happened, and it's what caused it was this other thing that happened right before it. It's causation, correlation, all kind of wrapped up with people doing knee-jerk reactions. Now, once again, this is what we talk about over at the Florida Monkey Patreon channel. We are going to talk in this video about something that the Army is doing that is a knee-jerk reaction, that is creating a problem that doesn't exist and then trying to solve that problem. And they're tying themselves up in knots. But real quick, thank you to everyone who has joined us over at the Patreon channel, whether at the $1 level, at the $5 level. God bless all of you. I very much appreciate it. Here's your heads up, your warning. In the next 24 hours, I'm going to put up a brand new video over there. And basically, it's going to be the PG-13/R-rated version of this video that we're about to do, what we're about to get into. Because the reason the Army is tying itself in knots is because it doesn't want to admit something to itself because it's not PC. And that's the problem with it, is that they're trying to achieve a goal by working backwards toward it instead of working forward to it. It's the best way I can say it here. But once again, $1 a month, even less if you sign up for an entire year, fully refundable first 90 days. partner with Vimeo so that we can do PG-13 R-rated videos. Don't have to worry about prying eyes for the censors. So, not going to waste any more of your time. God bless. If you can sign up, that'd be great. Now, one of the worst formations I've ever seen in my life. They're trying to all stand at attention here and make it look like they're trying to be a formation. We got this guy here off to the left, just, completely not covered down, not dressed at all. His position of attention, I guess, is one where you stick your hands out a foot away from your body. Here, this particular person, look at the distance and the spacing is completely off. Got tattoos showing both on the forearm and on the leg. And every single one of them looks like they're 50 to 75 pounds overweight. This guy here, he's just looking off to the left. Position of attention is straight ahead. And most people have that. But this guy way back here, he's looking off to the left too. All these people are looking off to one direction, and they're supposed to be. It's just horrible. It's just absolutely horrible. And they're all wearing army. I hope that this is just some college ROTC thing, and these aren't actual members of the military, because they've got a ways to go. But here's the problem. Here's the issue, and this is where it's really going to probably tweak a lot of folks. The Army's fitness test might be revamped yet again for gender-neutral and job-specific standards. This was, when was this? 7 December of last year. And they have tried, for those of you that haven't been following this, they revamped, it used to be just push-ups, sit-ups, and the 2-mile run. And they have revamped it to do all of these different events, American Gladiator style, with throwing a medicine ball over your head and loading sandbags and all of these different things that you'd see on like an America's Strongest Man contest. And none of it has worked. None of it has worked because they're trying to make it enjoyable. Now, this is this year. Army not tweaking fitness test after uncertainty over gender standards. Because one group will pass, then the other group will fail. Then another group will pass the new standards, but then the other group failed. Because they're trying to do all of these different things when all you really need is to go back to the original push-ups, sit-ups, and 2-mile run. And not worry about whose feelings it's going to hurt. Have the standard for men. Have the standard for women. And let the motivation be the key. You see, here's the problem. Here's the problem the Army's not dealing with. If you're going to get in shape, it is up to you. It is not going to feel good. It never feels good. And here's the theoretical argument that you can make. Let's say that you have your own army and you're in charge of it. And you say, well, I'm going to have a PT formation, a physical training formation, every morning at 6 o'clock. And we're going to train for 1 hour. And we're going to do that Monday through Saturday. And we're going to have Sundays off. And we're going to do all these different exercises. And whoever shows up on time and does all of those exercises to the best of their ability, by the end of, let's say, 3 months, they're going to be a fighting force. They're going to be, ready to go. Now, if everybody shows up and everybody does what they're supposed to, why in the world then would you need a PT test? All you'd need was basically a duty roster. Did they show up? Yes. Did they work out for an hour, 6 days a week, every morning? Yes. Okay. Training done. Why would you need a test? You see, this is the key. What's the point of the test? Is it to make them feel good? Is it to, give them a baseline upon which they can improve themselves? No. That's not the point of the Army. The point of the Army is to defeat a future enemy, peer-to-peer enemy. And do so and not get killed because you're an asset of, basically, the people of the United States. You see, this whole constitutional right to pursuit of happiness thing, everybody who joins forfeits that. I'd like to do a poll, ask how many people, hey, would you ever sign a contract where you forfeited your constitutional rights? Well, guess what? Joining the military is. See, everything that you need to do in the military to get ready to do your job, you're not going to like. That's why they have to threaten even young soldiers. Get your ass in formation, or there's going to be hell to pay if you don't. You're going to be standing in front of the first sergeant if you're not there. At PT formation, you would think, well, gosh, they joined the Army. You would think they would want to be in shape. They would want to serve their country. And if they did get deployed, they wouldn't want to die. You would think that would be motivation enough. But for some reason, it isn't with young soldiers. So you would have to ask yourself the question, what is it that has changed? What is it that is existing now in the military that didn't exist way back in the 1980s when I was in the military? Because we didn't have this problem. I mean, there were always a few guys that, didn't make it, that would just, they'd sign up and there'd be, a half a dozen, a handful that just washed out. And that was the case. Then that was always the case. But what's going on now is huge swaths of people signing up aren't making it, aren't making the grade. What's changed? Well, you see, it has to do with, and here's where, ladies, you might want to get up and leave the room. You're not going to like this, but it's just the reality. What motivates young men? See, back in the 80s, when it was mostly, there were females in the military when I was in, back in the 80s, but there was mostly men. And here's a picture of me back then, for those of you that want to laugh and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. It's, old basic training picture. What gets guys out of bed in the morning? What makes them want to be those big, muscly, guys that are in shape, that can go run? Nobody enjoyed it. Nobody enjoyed PT tests. Nobody enjoyed getting up and, 4:30 and going and running. And nobody liked it, but we did it. We did it. And there was primarily a reason that we did it. The reason we wanted to look really good in our uniforms. Look at Colin Powell. Look how skinny he is. Look at this guy. He's a full-bird colonel. Look how skinny he is. Look at all these people. None of these people seem to have a problem motivating themselves. Even these older cats. This guy's a 3-star general here. What's the difference? You see, back then, this was the difference. There was a whole block of training you had to take in the military before you got deployed to Panama. Because they said, look, young men, we know why you do things. We know why, you get up in the morning, what you live, eat, and breathe in your mind. And I'm not going to, once again, YouTube, got to be PG-13. But that's what motivated young men to stay in shape. And to be in shape. And to be in uniform. Girls love a guy in uniform. Now, down in Panama, they said, look, you're going to run into some of the most beautiful women you have ever met in your life. And you live at one standard in the world, they live at another standard. And they will be willing to do anything to get you to get into a one-on-one committed relationship with them so that they can come back to the States. And they can get money and they can send it back to take care of their family. They will do anything. So be prepared for it. Whole block of training on it. On the girls in Panama. And how they would work on sinking their hooks into a U.S. soldier. It was a big problem. Huge problem. Because this is what motivates young men. Older men? Not so much. Not as much. Let's put it that way. If I was in charge of the military right now, I would go try to find guys that were on their own, still on their own, hitting the gym, hitting the weights, going for a run, getting up and do ruck marches. I got a viewer, Tim Bassett, I know you're probably out there still watching, that get up and he posts all over his Instagram. I wish I'd have brought up some pictures. That do it on their own. That stay in shape on their own. That's who I would be going for. I'd be going to the local gyms. And I'd be throwing out a bunch of sign-on bonuses. It's like if you can get a 280 or above on the old PT test right now, 300 was max, we'll give you a stripe going in. As soon as you graduate basic, if you're still above 280, we'll give you another stripe. Be E3 right out of basic. Once you make it through training, if you're still in shape and you've gone through all of your training, we'll bump you right to E5. We'll put you through PLDC right away. That's the Personal Leadership Development course. I'm sure there's a different acronym for it now. Throw the money at them. See, it was okay back then. It was okay back then for young men to be motivated by this. And don't tell me this wasn't the case. It was the case. We weren't sitting around, guys, military guys out there, help me out here, down in the comments. We weren't sitting around, having a beer saying, you know what, guys, I'm really proud of us for having done all this cardio, because I know later in life we're going to have much less of a chance of heart disease, less chance of diabetes. We're going to have arthritis. We're not going to have all these problems with our knees. That's not why we were doing it. That's not why we were doing it. We were doing it to get girls. And yeah, we would really like to, if we got deployed, not come home dead. But that was not the primary motivator. So I'm just saying, I know it's not a popular thing. I mean, it's popular with a lot of my viewers. But I'm telling you right now, this is what they have gotten rid of in the military. That personal motivation. You see, they're looking for a reason to why. I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel bad about being in the military. So if I need to sleep in, my constitutional right says I'll pursue to happiness, and it makes me happy to sleep in. So I need to sleep in. I'll go for a jog later in the afternoon, but waking me up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go do that kind of stuff, it violates my constitutional right. I'm trying to pursue happiness. And I don't feel like push-ups and sit-ups are. I can't put that on my Instagram, how many push-ups and sit-ups I did, because nobody's going to care. I need to do deadlifts, and I need to throw medicine balls around, and I need to do leg tucks, and I need to do sprints, and I need to do... it's ridiculous. Garbage. This is what kept you motivated. You did your job sucked. Let me just put it, bluntly. Your job sucked. PT sucked. Most of your life sucked. But there were some really good parts to your life in the military. Nobody enjoyed most of it. It wasn't G.I. Joe. It wasn't a video game. It wasn't Call of Duty. It wasn't that. It mostly sucked, but the weekends were great. And you were serving your country. So you had that pride, that esprit de corps. And believe me, the last thing on your mind was, I wonder if I'm going to fail a part of your PT test? Really? If you can't pass a PT test, you're not even ready to go to anywhere where you're going to be any kind of a useful asset in the military. If you can't pass. Never entered our mind not passing. I mean, we were competing to see who could get the highest score. Truthfully, that was the case. And we had, something that was motivating us that we could brag about. We drank a lot of beer. And Heartbreak Ridge. Go listen to what Gunny Highway says when he takes over the unit about what he has done more of than all of the guys there combined. And that was what, the military was taking advantage of. This is a joke. This means nothing. I don't care how many sandbags you can throw over your head. Believe me, if somebody's shooting at you, you'd be amazed how many sandbags you can pile up, regardless of what kind of shape you're in. Overthinking it. Because that's what this really boils down to. Overthinking it. That's what's going on in the military right now. It is so simple. It was so simple for so long. You get a bunch of young men with a whole lot more energy than they know what to do with, a whole lot more time on their hands than they know what to do with, and get them into a you-know-what measuring contest over girls. You would be amazed how much they will run, how many push-ups they will do, how many sit-ups they will do, how many formations that they're going to hate to show up for that they'll show up for. It's just bizarre. It's really bizarre. And it kind of reminds me of this thing where you see people looking up in the sky and looking at something and then just making a knee-jerk reaction without knowing what's going on. So I will leave it there. Rant over. God bless. Thank you guys, every one of you, for showing up. I very much appreciate it. Like I said, next 24 hours, we're going to get a little bit more into this because there's another level to it, to what motivates young people and why it's actually part of the greater plan that our Creator put together. There's a whole nother 2 and 3 more levels to this about why. And I'll give you a hint here. It's actually a scripture. When I was a child, thought and spake as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. See, there's different places that we exist in life. And if you're existing in one place and behaving as if you're in another, it's not appropriate. So while a lot of people would say, well, that's not a real good reason to motivate. If you had a 65 or 70-year-old man that was motivated by the same things that was motivating him when he was 20, that's an entirely different thing. So, but like I said, Patreon only. God bless. Thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.